Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make this multi-knot double row macrame bracelet. And this is what it looks like. So it's very similar to the triple row that I have a video on, but this is just with 2 rows instead. And in this I've just used some rondelles, but you can always use any other type of beads, rounds, or even I think it could look quite cool if you can get hold of like some cube shaped beads. It would look a lot like a checkerboard, but obviously that design part is completely up to you. So if you want to learn how to make that, then stay tuned. And these are the things that you're going to need. You'll need some cord for this bracelet, and in my case I'm using some 1mm satin cord in black. You can use whatever type of cord you prefer. And then you'll need some beads for this. And I'm just using some rondelles in this case, but you can use anything. You can use rounds or even other shapes, just play about with it. And then a scissor to cut your cord. So get them things together and then let's get started. Now the first thing you need to do is cut 2 lengths of cord, and these will be your holding cords where your beads are going to be attached to. And I've already cut that and attached them to my macrame board that I'm going to be working on. The length of these is just pretty much the size you need your bracelet to be, and then some extra, maybe 10 centimeters on each side, so you have that to work with and you can finish it off at the end. So cut them lengths ready, and then I'll show you what to do next. So the next thing you want to do is cut off 3 lengths of cord, and these are going to be your working cords, and I would recommend them to be probably about 1.5 meters each. You might not need that much, but it all depends on the size of your bracelet and the type and thickness of cord you use. So that's just like a general guidance. You can always adjust it yourself, but rather always have a bit extra than too little, because you can always take off at the ends but you can't really add in. So you got your 3 lengths, and you also want to attach these to the board or whatever else you're working on. So grab one at a time and just put them in the notches, and I put each of these cords in its own notch. So I have one here that's on the outside of my 2 holding cords, and I just put one here. It's just to get them into position to start working with. And then I'm just going to take the last one over here. You could also take it, it's not a big deal. It's just, like I said, to get them into position. Like so. And then you have your 3 holding cords attached. Your 2 holding cords on the bottom, sorry, and your 3 working cords attached that are lying loose for now. Now the next thing you want to do is attach your beads onto your holding cords, because it's much easier to do that now rather than do them one at a time as you go. So I'm going to go to the bottom of my board where my holding cords are attached and fastened down, and just release them. This is where working on the macrame board comes in very handy, because it makes it so much easier to attach and detach your cords, and both before but also while you're working with it. So you just put however many beads on you want to. You don't need to put on the precise amount, because you can always not use them all, take some off. You can always add in as well. So just put some on, and then I'll show you what to do next. So I now have everything set up and ready. I'm going to push all my beads down to the bottom so they're out of my way in my work area. And then I'm going to start making the knots to basically start forming the bracelet. And to do this, I'm going to start with 2 of my working cords, because you're going to start making knots on 1 holding cord first. And what we do is, this is just regular square knots. If you're not sure how to do a square knot, I have a video on how to do some basic macrame knots. I'll link that at the bottom. So we lay that over, try and ignore this one, just focus on that one. Take the other one, put that underneath, make sure you pull it up through your 2 holding cords, and so it comes up through the loop you made with the other working cord. And then pull that knot up. To finish off the square knot, you need to go the other way as well. So make your loop. Now put it down in between your two holding cords, because we're only focusing on this, and then pull it up through the loop. And then tighten that, so you have one full square knot now. So I'm just going to make a couple of these. This is going to be the first section of knots, where we're then going to bring up one bead. And it's always, when you're making the very first one, that's when you have to find out how many knots you need to make in order to fit the size of your bead, basically. But after that, you obviously just keep making the same amount of knots. So I've made 2 full square knots. I'm just going to bring up a bead to make sure. See if I need to make, if I'm at that, or if I need to make another one. So I actually think 2 knots will fit this bead quite nicely, especially because this is a rondelle, so it's smaller this way than it is that way. And it's that way obviously because the knots are lying next to it. So I've brought that bead up to lay next to my knots on here. And now we want to move over to make knots on this holding cord, because now you basically want to cage in the bead so it doesn't move anywhere. To do that, you put your very most right working cord from over here out of the way. We're not using that now. You take the left working cord from this bunch of knots, and then you take the other working cord that's free from the other side. And all you do now is you make another few square knots. So again, lay it over, take the other one, put it down in between, because now we're only focusing on this holding cord, and pull it up through the loop. And then pull it up till it lies where you want it to lie. And then we need to do the other side. So lay it over, take the other one over, down, underneath both, and pull up through, in between both holding cords and through your loop. And then, because this is just the first one, we need to just make sure we get the knot where we want it to go. Like so. So just like hold the first, tighten the first one, hold it down with your finger, and then tighten the second one. So that's one full square knot. And because I made 2 up here, I know that I'm going to continue to make 2. So I need to make another one. Lay it over. It's the second half of my square knot. Feed it down, up between, because you're only focusing on this one, and through the loop. And pull tight, and that's my second square knot. So now I push up another bead, and then we are ready to move back over to this side to cage in this bead. So I put the furthest left working cord from this side out of the way. We're done with that for now. Take the one in the middle. Start making square knots around this holding cord, so put it over, take the furthest right working cord that you left out from before, put it underneath both, pull up through your 2 holding cords, and then through the loop, and then tighten that. And now it gets a lot easier, you don't have to worry as much about that your knot is wanting to move, because you've already tightened them into place. Second half, and the second square knot, lay it over, take the other one over that one, down underneath both, up between your 2 holding cords, and through the loop. Now I start with my left side when I make square knots. That's just what comes natural to me. It's not what you have to do. You can easily start on the other side, just as long as you obviously keep doing the same thing throughout. So that's them two. I'm now ready to push up my next bead. Put the furthest right one away. I'm done with that for now. Move back over to this side, to your left holding cord. Use the working cord in the middle and then the one furthest to the left, and continue making your square knots. So lay that over, take the other one over the first one, then down in between your holding cords and pull up through the loop. And then the other side of it, doing the opposite to finish off that square knot. Make the second square knot to finish off this section. Like so. And again made two, so we're now ready to push up the next bead. Move back over to this side and make knots. Remember to only focus on this holding cord. And like I said, the amount of knots that you make in between each section, in between each bead, it all depends on the size of your beads and the size of your cord. So I'm just making two because that fits the sizes that I'm using. But you can make more if that's what you need to. Just size it to whatever materials you're using. Like so. Push a bead up on the other side again. We're now ready to continue on this side. And this is all you do throughout. So just keep going like this until you've reached roughly the length you want your bracelet to be. Remember to account for making your locking part, whatever you choose to do with that. Because obviously you need to have space for that. So just continue like this till you reached the length you need it to be, and then I'll show you how to finish it off. So I've now reached the length that I want my bracelet to be, and now you need to finish the ends off. So what you do is you have your two working cords on the outsides. You'll continue to use them as your working cord. The one in the middle will kind of turn into a holding cord. So what I'm going to do now is just put that in one of the notches at the bottom just to keep it nice and fastened and secure. And then I'm just going to take out the other cord and just bring them all into the same notch. Or if you're working with something else in the macrame board, just bring them together. And then what you want to do now is you basically just want to have all these as your one holding cord and make square knots around them. So you're in this position where you were supposed to then continue making square knots just below this bead. Instead, you now start doing it around all your holding cords. And I just continue with the same side that I've been working on the whole time. So I lay it over, bring the other one over that, underneath both, and up through the loop. And then just bring that up all the way under the bead and the set of square knots, and just tighten it. And now don't pull really tight, just let it naturally sit where it wants to sit. Pull it a little tight and let it sit there. And then do the other half of the square knot. Bring that up and tighten that. And then as you go now, you're going to keep making some square knots. You'll be able to gradually tighten it more and more. So now you can really pull it tight, and it just tightens around all the cords. And basically it graduates a little bit from being wider to going narrower. And that's what you want. Now in this case, I'm left with 3 holding cords, You can leave it at that and finish it off using these three if you want to. But what I like to do is, the maximum I like to have left when I'm making a macrame finish on my bracelets, it's 2. You can do 3 if you want to, that's your choice. But the way I'm going to just bring it down to 2 is, I'm going to release, I prefer to take the cord in the middle, which is usually the original working cord, so the long one probably you got left. And I just get a bit of glue out. This is some Hypo cement glue. This is really nice for precision work, because you just want to get a bit of glue just right in there. This is just to hold your cords in place so they don't slide anywhere. And I just do it on the back as well. You don't go on top of your knots, it's basically on the holding cords right up against the knots. And then actually before that dries, you can leave it to dry if you want, but I prefer to keep working while it's still wet. Because now what I do is, I start off the next square knot, make the first half of it, and pull that up, and then you have your glue basically lying underneath this knot, and then that dries in there in place. And then what I do now is I then get my scissor and then go in and cut off that cord as close as you can get. If you want to, you can always put a bit of extra glue on there, but otherwise then all you do now is make the other half of your square knot, make sure if you have a bit of end of that cord left that your knot goes on top of that, so it won't be sticking out, like so. And then you can always make one more if you need to, either stop here or make another square knot to finish it off. Like so. And then all you do need to do now is the regular way to finish off macrame bracelet, is to get rid of these ends by just putting a bit of glue around them and in the well on your square knot. You cut them off, and then you need to repeat the same thing at the other end, of course, and then you're ready to finish off the bracelet. So that's all there is to it. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you for watching.